The idea, the packing heat in church, as he calls it. Pastor, can you cite for me a verse? I'm sure it's in there somewhere, where Jesus admonishes his followers to disarm themselves and not to carry swords in the temple.
It's in Hezekiah 32, I think.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I was thinking. That's our favorite source for Jesus' position on guns is Hezekiah. Little known. Go look it up.
Pistols, prayer, and potluck. This is Armed Lutheran Radio.
Hey folks, welcome to Armed Lutheran Radio, a show about guns, hunting, competitive shooting, the natural right of self-defense, and what God's Word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. I am your host, Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, and this is episode number 266. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us again this week and making Armed Lutheran Radio a part of your week. For those of you who are new, welcome aboard. I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you will stick around. Come back next week for more. Today is a variety show. It's something we haven't been doing for a while. We've been busy with other things. And in fact, we've had, 3 weeks of fisking this really horrible long article from Pathos.com in the last 3 episodes. So it's been a while since we've had a show. So today we get back to variety show. You'll get a chance to hear from Sergeant Bill, from Mia Anstein, and from Pastor Bennett today. I'm going to do my thing and get out of the way and let them talk because we haven't heard from them in a while. But before we begin, I do want to thank all the members of the Reformation Gun Club, the people who make this show possible. Armed Lutheran Radio is listener funded, and that means we don't have any advertising. We don't have any sponsors. This little mention is the only advertisement, if you want to call it that you're going to hear today. And today I want to give a special shout out to Tony from Little Elm, Texas, to Jackie from Federal Way, Washington, Mitch from Stockbridge, Michigan, Paul from McKinney, Texas, Robert from DeKalb, Illinois, Stephen B., and our newest member, Richard from Wichita, Kansas. Thank you all so much for your support, especially in these crazy economic times. Really do appreciate everything that you guys do to keep the show going. As I said, folks, the show's listener funded, and the members of the Reformation Gun Club don't just throw money at us. They get some really cool benefits. In return, they get a chance to join us for our monthly online hangouts. They get access to hundreds of hours of exclusive content on our website, our new website, and they get some cool swag. And I do want to mention that we just kicked off a brand new podcast, the Reformation Gun Club Good Time Happy Hour. That's a strange name, but it kind of tells you what it is that we're all about. It's a 15 to 20 minute podcast once a week about all things, and we just try to keep it fun. It's about guns and life and things happening in the news, a little bit of politics, a little bit of theology, sports, reviews, you name it. It's a little more lighthearted, a little bit different. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff on the show, whatever is on my mind that particular week. And it's just me and me and you and an adult beverage and a topic. And so we kicked that off last week. It's available now, but it's only available for members of the Reformation Gun Club. So if you'd like to hear it, join today. To learn more about the Gun Club, find out about all the benefits, and hopefully to sign up, because we would love to have you as a member. Check it all out at armedlutheran.us/gun club, or look for a link in the show notes for this or any of our previous episodes. Okay, as I said, it's been forever since we did a variety show, so I'm going to get out of the way. I'm not going to do a monologue today. I'm just going to step out of the way, turn it over to Mia and Sergeant Bill and Pastor Bennett. For Gun Club members, I will talk to you again later this week for the next episode of the Good Time Happy Hour show. For the rest of you, I will talk to you next Sunday for episode 267. So sit back, enjoy the rest of the show, and I'll talk to you then.
Time now for Mia's Motivations with Mia Anstein.
Hey, hi, hello, it's Mia here again. I wanted to talk to you today and tell you a story. I'm not sure if it's one that I've mentioned on Armed Lutheran before, but if it is, then it's been quite a while since I have talked about it. But I wanted to talk to you about how I started shooting guns, and then why I became a firearms instructor. Basically, why I'm doing what I'm doing today. Today, I am a hunting guide, I'm a firearms instructor, an archery instructor, a hunter ed instructor, and really all around, I really want people to know how to handle firearms and how to do that safely. But this all started out because I grew up in a rural area of Colorado, and I come from a hunting family. My great-grandfather hunted, my grandmother hunted, my dad hunted, and they taught my brother and me how to hunt. Dad taught me firearm safety and how to shoot when I was 5 years old. This sometimes sounds like a young age to some people, but my older brother was learning to hunt, and Dad didn't want me to be curious about guns, so he decided to include me in his teaching with my brother. Later, in my teen years, my parents divorced, and my mom and I moved and lived in San Diego. One day, my cousin and I, we were walking home from school together, and as we rounded the bend, we saw at a friend's house, there were police cars and there was caution tape around the yard at this house. And of course, early teens, we were pretty curious and we were really wondering what was going on, we had no idea. So the next day, what we found out was that the boy who lived there, he had a friend over after school and they found a firearm. I don't know whether the firearm was from that house or if the friend brought the firearm to the house, but either way, they came across a firearm. And neither one of those youngsters had learned about firearms. Tragedy struck that day, and as one of the boys had violated every rule of firearm safety. And it was then when I learned what had happened that I realized how truly blessed I had been as a youngster. I was so blessed that my father educated me and empowered me with the knowledge of guns. Whether I would later in life choose to have them in my home or not, whether you or your friends choose to have them in their homes or not, we all need to know safety, and we need to know how to make sure that these incidents don't occur. That doesn't mean creating another law. What it means is that we need to empower others by educating them about firearm safety. And that includes youngsters and adults. So today I am an educator. I do empower other people. I teach, as I said, hunter education, firearms, archery classes, and hunting. When I'm teaching hunter ed, what I have to tell you is that hunting is one of the safest activities around. Since hunter education has been enacted here in Colorado alone, we have seen a 90% reduction in fatal incidents, an 80% reduction in non-fatal. Essentially, it went from an average of 10 fatal and 25 non-fatal incidents a year in the 50s and 60s to our current record, which is less than one fatal. And that is because we are human and we will never be 100% perfect. And the non-fatals, they're down to 5 incidents a year. So that is extremely low. That is a huge statistic. An 80% reduction is just phenomenal. And this thing about this is that doesn't only include firearm incidents. This also includes heat exhaustion, hypothermia, and other scenarios that may happen when you're in the outdoors. So if it's while they're hunting, it's included in the statistic. While I teach these things and I'm a hunter and I follow and teach the North American model of wildlife conservation, along with that model and along with the Pittman-Robertson Act, those there protect our wildlife and our habitat. The Pittman-Robertson Act is a tax on our hunting and gun sales, and that goes to protect wildlife and habitat. But hunting also protects the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is not about hunting. But if we teach hunting, which is required in all of the states, hunter education and firearm safety, it helps protect the Constitution and our great outdoors, but also it helps to make other people safer. So while we're looking at this today, I hope that you can encourage people in your area to teach firearm safety. I really would like to see this taught in schools again, because it's better to empower someone with education rather than to try to hide something from them and make them become curious. I hope that is a little information that is helpful for you to share with others, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, guys.
You can read more from Mia, watch her YouTube videos, or check out her podcast, Mac Outdoors with Mia and Leah, at miaanstein.com. Time now for another Ballistic Minute with Sergeant Bill Sylvia.
Hey everybody, I'm Sergeant Bill and this is your Ballistic Minute. Today I want to talk to you about the 2021 USPSA Lo-Cap Nationals. So this national championship was held at the CMP Talladega Range in Talladega, Alabama. It included single stack, production, limited 10, and revolver. There were just over 400 shooters total, and some of the biggest names in shooting, practical shooting, came out to shoot this match. There were 20 stages they had spread out over a 3-day format, which was outstanding. Instead of doing 2 long 10-stage 2-day format setup, they did it in 3-day format, which was really nice. So you didn't shoot a ton, and it wasn't just 4 or 5 stages. There was one day you did about 5 stages, but there was some longer bays in there. But it was very manageable. It ran smoothly, and they did fantastic. The stages were outstanding. The ROs were outstanding. They kept everything running and were very professional and did a great job. This was my first USPSA National Championship, and it was unbelievable. There was great stages. There was challenges. Some of it was easier. I mean, any shooter that shoots USPSA at all could come out to that match and shoot it well and have a good time and feel challenged. And feel challenged without feeling overwhelmed by really hard stages or memory stages or anything like that. Now, I shot single stack, and I actually chose a couple weeks before the match to not shoot major, and I shot minor. So I had 10-round magazines shooting 9mm. And there were a lot of the top shooters shot major, and there's a big advantage to shooting major in USPSA when you can over minor. But I had a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed the match, and I would recommend anybody to go try it out. Now, they did the awards on the 3rd day after the match was completed, and it was outside on the patio at the CMP range, and there was a thunderstorm coming in, so they were actually brief because it started raining. We had some lightning in the area, which wasn't too bad, but they still did a very good job with the awards. The only downside to this match was the prize table. The prize table and the prizes they had a lot of sponsors, and they had a lot of prizes. but they didn't have any organization as far as how they were going to do it and actually give the prizes out. So they had people line up according to their division, and they were supposed to get an order of how they placed, but because there was 300 to 400 people in this small area, it was loud and you couldn't hear who was where, and I ended up getting through the prize table about 40 places behind where I should have been. But that's not a huge deal. I didn't go to the match to pick something up off the prize table. I went to shoot the stages and have a lot of fun, and I got to shoot with some of my friends, and it was a blast. So if you think you're a halfway decent shooter and you shoot a little bit of USPSA and you think, I don't know if I could shoot a national championship, you can. There's all different divisions. There's all different classes. Give it a shot and go have fun. That's what I did. I'm Sergeant Bill. This has been your Ballistic Minute.
Sergeant Bill Sylvia is a veteran of the Dallas Police Force and a masterclass competitive shooter. You can check out his YouTube videos at armedlutheran.us/Sergeant Bill. It's time for Pastoral Quantifications with Pastor John Bennett.
Welcome to another installment of Pastoral Pontifications. This is the pistol packing Padre Pastor John Bennett, and today's segment is going to be considerably shorter than usual, and those reasons will become obvious in a moment. So as we begin today, the question I'd like you to think about is, what would you do if you were told today that you had 3 weeks to live? What would you do differently? Would you start worrying about all the things that you haven't done, that you've neglected? Would you be worrying about what you need to do to get your affairs in order? These are things we don't often think about because we often take our safety, our security, our very lives for granted. If we're healthy, if things are going well in our life, we will never suspect that the following day or 3 weeks from now we could be gone. If you've ever talked to the surviving family members of somebody who has died tragically and unexpectedly, you always will hear the same thing. We never thought it happened to us. Well, tomorrow I'm having a funeral for a man who 3 weeks from the day he died, 3 weeks before that, he was told he had terminal cancer. That funeral will be the day before this segment airs, and so it's been a crazy week. I've been busy with funeral preparations, had to deal with some computer issues, got all sorts of busy stuff happening with the kids in school, so it's been a bit hectic, a bit crazy. But again, think about that question. What would you do differently? How would you live your life if 3 weeks from now you knew you'd be gone? There's some practical things to consider. Do you have life insurance? Do you have a will? Have you taken care of the legal things that often can catch a person unsuspected when they lose a loved one tragically when they're young? Have you done those things? It's never too late to do things like getting life insurance, having a will in place. Make sure that if something were to happen to you, God forbid, that your loved ones and those who rely upon you would be provided for, and that they wouldn't have to worry about things like, how are we going to pay for the funeral? What's going to happen with my loved one's property because there was no will? Don't leave your loved ones to worry about that. You know, I know it's kind of a morbid thing to think about, but these are practical matters that are very important. But now let's look at it from the other aspect. How would you live your life differently towards your family, towards your friends? Would you perhaps be reconciled with someone that you've been at odds with for a while? Would you spend more time with your spouse and your children, with parents and siblings and the like? Would you no longer put off those things that you've been neglecting, saying that you're just going to get to it someday? Now, usually these aren't things that we think about, but it's kind of sobering. And you know, when you're in a vocation like mine where you often deal with death, sadly, I often see unexpected tragic deaths occur. Now, even though this one for the funeral for this gentleman, that he was told he had terminal cancer 3 weeks to the day before he passed. When you think about it, 3 weeks isn't a whole lot of time. And sometimes people don't even have that. It could be 3 minutes, 3 days, 3 hours, and so forth. So live your life every day, not taking things for granted. And also, lastly, don't take your spiritual care for granted. Be sure to have your faith, your soul, nourished, enriched in the Word of God and the sacraments. Be faithful in worship. Read the Scriptures. Pray daily. Be sure to tend to the needs of your soul, for after this life is over, we have the life to come in the kingdom of heaven. Well, that's all for this time. Have a wonderful week. Christ's richest blessings to you, and we'll talk to you again.
John Bennett is the pastor at St. John's Lutheran Church in Willow Creek, Minnesota. For more information, visit stjohnswillowcreek.org. For show notes, be sure to visit our website at www.armedlutheran.us. Check out the Facebook page, The Armed Lutheran, or join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio. If you like what you hear, please leave us a comment on our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback or a review on iTunes and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Armed Lutheran Radio, a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.